Well, hey there. You have stumbled into Sister Sharpens Sister, where three sisters get together each week and talk about first one thing and then another.
Welcome to Sister Sharpens Sister. My name is Karen. You will see and or hear Delina and Shalon. Today we are wrapping up our three-part series on music and sound therapy. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about modern uses of sound and music therapy. But before we get started, just in our opening here, I wanted to go over briefly, like bullet points, what we've covered in episodes 1 and 2. And those two episodes will be linked either in an iCard on YouTube, or they will be linked in the show notes if you're watching through Spotify or Apple or wherever else we are. Let's see. We talked about what it was. We defined music and sound therapy. We talked about the fact that all music is sound, but not all sound is music. But there are some sounds that are relaxing that are akin to music, like rain or waterfalls or waves. Mm-hmm. We talked about how music affects our moods, including workouts and housework and homework and studying. We talked about uses for sound that include rhythm and harmony, as well as just music. And we talked about briefly, we did not go into depth in this, but we mentioned that culturally speaking, music has been used as a weapon. And in part 2, we talked about what the Bible had to say about music and the sound that is used in the Bible. And I'm going to specify there. We talked about songs of the Bible, talking about Psalms and in other places where notable people, David and Moses, had actually sang. And we talked about sound in the Bible as far as like the trumpets at Jericho, making the walls of a very fortified city just crumble. Mm-hmm. Delina brought up the fact that the very first people that have ever been noted to use sound or music for healing were the Aborigines in Australia. And Shalon found that the first offered degree for sound and music therapy was taught by a woman at Columbia University in 1919. And that's why you will see on YouTube, our thumbnail says that women invented sound therapy. Because even Delina found information about organizations that had been started for music and sound therapy that were founded by women.
Yeah, this is current, meaning not thousands of years ago.
Right. We also talked about ancient civilizations possibly having used something called acoustic levitation. And we talked a little bit about piezoelectricity and the quality of some gems like quartz. We also talked about Tibetan sound bowls and where they came from. And we even mused whether or not music could be used during surgical and dental procedures in order to aid the healing process. So that brings us up to where we are today in music and sound therapy. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was Stonehenge. And the reason I say that is because I said I was going to talk about it in episode 2 at the end of episode 1, but then I was pressed for time because we were house hunting. All right, okay. This is an article that was published in September of 2020. And the title of the article is "A Remarkable New Study Suggests that Stonehenge was built to amplify sound during ancient ruling class rituals." So what these people did, they wanted to recreate the acoustic properties of the circle as it was originally built. And it is assumed, researched, tested, dated, all that other good stuff, to have been built somewhere around 2500 BC. So acoustic engineers at the University of Salford in Manchester, England, constructed a 1/12 scale model that they called mini hinge. I just thought that was cute. They tested the model and they said it was very time consuming, a labor of love, blah, blah, blah. They said with so many stones missing or displaced, the modern acoustics of Stonehenge is very different to what it would have been in prehistory. But laser scans of the site that have been conducted by the governmental research group Historic England, they were able to map out where the missing stones would have been and the approximate size of them. So as it stood, they believe that originally there were 157 stones altogether.
How many are there now?
I don't know. It doesn't say. You want to Google that real quick? The simulated stones were treated to replicate the acoustic property of the site's actual materials, allowing for more accurate results than past models that had been done like in Washington State. Researchers then tested the model by placing speakers and microphones in and around it while working in the acoustics center. And get back to the
How
article.
many was it supposed to be there?
I think it says 157.
Okay.
Based on latest archaeological research is what it says.
Okay. This article says 52
Is what's remaining.
is what's remaining,
Wow.
but they have a different number of the whole.
Right. Does it say when that
This is
article was?
July 29th, 2020.
All right. This one is September of 2020. So I guess it's just a guess.
I don't know. They said 52 of 80.
Okay. All right.
Now, I saw a documentary
Can you see that picture?
a while back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the original configuration according to the LiDAR mapping that this university in Manchester, England actually did.
See, I saw a documentary quite a long time ago. I forget how many years ago it was. And these archaeologists were saying that what you currently see on Stonehenge was not originally how it was done. The very original ones were much smaller. It wasn't until years later that they expanded it and brought in the big stones.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much speculation about even how it was built because of the stones aren't even from the area where Stonehenge actually is.
Mm-hmm.
But this study that they did for acoustics found that people who spoke or played music inside the monument would have heard clear reverberations against the massive standing stones. So testing the model also suggests that the stones increased the volume on the interior, but kept the exterior sound very muted and quiet. So only those that would have been in the inner circle would have heard very clear spoken word or something sung, music played, and anybody standing around the outside would have just heard like whispers.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I just thought that was fascinating about Stonehenge. Somewhere in like 1882 in England, somewhere around that time, is when they decided that Stonehenge was of national historical significance and declared it a protected site.
Wow.
All the way back that far.
Yeah. I'm glad they did.
Yeah, me too. And you know, Stonehenge is not the only hinge.
No.
And I'm saying that in quotes, hinge. You know, there are a lot more. There are even some here in the Americas. There's Central America, South America. They're everywhere. They're all over the world. So
makes me think of Outlander.
It does.
Yes.
So there's my note. I even made myself a note. Don't forget to talk about Stonehenge. All right. So as I was continuing to research, I ran across a PubMed article that did a study on human creativity and something called binaural beats. Are you familiar?
Binaural?
I do.
B-I-N-A-U-R-A-L.
You're talking about the ears, right?
Binaural beats is
Yeah.
something that they defined as an auditory illusion that is considered a form of cognitive entertainment. It says that human creativity relies on a multitude of cognitive processes, some of which are influenced by dopamine. And dopamine is a neurotransmitter. We all know it affects mood, movement, motivation, memory, and attention. So that suggests
attention to what?
Attention to what's going on. Like think Alzheimer's or something.
Okay, so attention to what's going on right now, not attention to what my imagination is doing.
Correct.
Okay.
So knowing that suggests that creativity could be enhanced by interventions that either modulate the production of dopamine or the transmission of dopamine directly to the receptors. So the study hypothesized that creativity can be influenced by means of something called binaural beats. Participants had to complete thinking tasks that assessed two important functions of creativity, and then they filled out a mood state questionnaire. Here's what the results showed. The results showed that binaural beats is not a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to cognitive entertainment. Each person has individual systems that need to be taken into consideration. That's a PubMed article that was published in November of 2013, 10 years ago. So people thinking about binaural beats now, if you look on YouTube and you look up binaural beats, you're going to find a plethora of information.
Yeah.
You can find it on Spotify, you can find it on iTunes.
Yeah, I found a little bit about that, and I'm not sure that I copied it and put it on here because I just had so much going on. I didn't keep everything, but it was talking about how one ear may hear like a hertz of 200 and the other ear would be a hertz of 210. So what you plug into the ears is the difference of those two, and it can help people sleep better, help them remember things better. But it's like in the very beginning of studies.
Right.
So it's very new by comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, comparatively. I mean, this article was from 2013. And, you know, even before then, people had speculations on it. And then somebody had to decide to do a study. And then there was the length of the study. And then there was the time it was to be published. So this has been going on for, in my opinion, more than 20 or 25 years.
Yes. But I think people are just now starting to focus on it. I think for many years, the mainstream medical people and things thought of it as alternative, or progressive, but anything that goes outside of what we might consider normal would be considered alternative or progressive, when it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
It's just something new.
Right.
Or old and you're bringing it back.
Or old and you bring it back. Yeah. Another thing I saw was that binaural beats at 15 hertz can improve memory and accuracy. And that's from the sleepfoundation.org. The research showed that binaural beats in the alpha range can increase creativity. So I just thought that was very interesting. And then I've only got two more things that I found. And you might think this is a little bit on the woo-woo side, but I'm going to provide links to articles that I've seen and even the products that I'm getting ready to talk about. The first one is from a December 2023 article in Hypebeast or on hypebeast.com. It talked about an MW75 neuro headphones. The headphones are touted as the first brain-computer interface because it uses neural sensors to read a wearer's brainwaves and determine a person's peak focus time, as well as spot moments of stress. And the latest Apple AirPods, if you've not seen it, you're going to see it.
I've actually seen something about this. Yeah.
People are saying that they can read your mind.
I don't like this.
I don't either.
Mm-mm.
And that's just, it's like, man, have we taken leaps and bounds? Like, this is stuff that we saw in movies.
Yeah.
80s.
Well, you know, I
Right,
mean,
even before then.
yeah, but sometimes creativity becomes reality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where do you think these started?
Exactly. Or this little thingy that I have right here. Every time I'm away from my phone and I get a phone call, I can use this. This is what is this?
That's your communicator.
Yeah, it's my Samsung Galaxy Watch. And every time I use it, I can't help but think about Captain Kirk.
Yes.
I mean, when am I going to get the one that I can put right here on my chest?
Well, we
Good
have them in
times,
the
sister.
ears already.
I don't want anything that close to my brain.
Wow.
So I want this one that goes right here on my chest. I guess I could get a safety pin and just like carry my watch.
Well,
Right,
yeah, why not?
All right. I'm sure Dee Dee has got this, and I'm sure Shalom has found it too. But music and sound therapy today can be used for what I think almost anything.
Yes.
I've got a list as long as my arm.
I
Autism,
had a long list.
anxiety.
I said, hold on, I'm gonna put a few down,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be it because I have 6.
Autism, anxiety, cancer, dementia, insomnia, stroke,
Mhm.
emotional dysregulation, depression,
Mhm.
stress reduction, pain management, both acute and chronic, PTSD, Parkinson's disease,
Yes.
substance abuse, learning disabilities, traumatic
Autism spectrum
incident.
disorder.
Yes. Yeah, autism was the first thing I listed. And I knew
Oh,
about
was it? I
autism
missed that.
because I used to go to church with this lady. Her name is Janet Lentula. She's actually published a book about autism. And her original thing that she was doing was with food dyes and her children, because her children were diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. And she kept saying, it's the food, it's the food, it's the food. Y'all, this is back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, when if somebody was saying that it was the food, they were crazy.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, anything that's outside of what is normal or what people consider normal is considered on the fringe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she used her own children for research. She's a doctor. She published a book, and come to find out, like today, 2023, it is not unheard of for somebody to say, well, it's this dye or it's that additive.
It's 2024.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I don't even know how old I am, okay?
I don't know how old I am either. People ask me, and I'm like,
I say, I don't know. I was born in 1967. You do the math.
yeah,
That's a lot of math.
that's, yeah, well, you know, I even found one that you may have listed it, Karen. I don't know. I mean, you were listing them down. I was going, yeah. But one I found too was that it can help premature infants improve sleep patterns and increase their weight gain.
No, I hadn't seen that one, but yeah, I could see that, because one of the places that I found that music and sound therapy is used for, and even sometimes when we don't know it, hospitals, schools, nursing homes, senior centers. Senior center and a nursing home is not the same thing. Outpatient clinics, mental health centers, group homes for people with developmental disabilities, treatment facilities for substance abuse, and correctional centers. I love the research they're doing with correctional centers and re-educating those people that are in there with like what you're listening to does affect your mood and how you feel and how you act and react. Now, as far as benefits, we've got relaxation. It can help you explore your emotions, is how it was listed. Help you explore your emotions. I mean, I might understand what that means. I don't know. Reduce anxiety or depression, ease stress, regulate your mood, strengthen your communication skills, improve speaking and language skills. I'm going to come back to that one. Build social skills, strengthen self-confidence. I could see that. It can help form healthy coping skills. It can help develop problem-solving skills. It can reduce perceived levels of pain. And right here, I'm just going to interject. Think about kids with a cut showing it to their friends as opposed to showing it to their parents. Okay? You show a cut to your friend, oh, it's not bad, it's okay. You show it to your mom, and you're like, oh. That kind of thing. And it can also improve your quality of life. I mean, I can't imagine my life without music. I can't. So going back to improved speaking and language skills, someone may not know who this is. I know Dee Dee does. You remember Mel Tillis?
Yeah.
Country singer. Had a very bad stutter, but he could sing
without the stutters.
Without the stutter, and the singing helped him speak more in a normal cadence. So yeah. And what I also found, music and sound therapy is safe and low risk, but it is not no risk. Music in particular can trigger painful memories or even bring up unexpected memories that you didn't realize that you had. So it's important that if you are actually seeing a professional music therapy, that you discuss everything about the trauma, your pain, whatever it is that you're seeking out this therapy for. You need to discuss everything with your therapist so that that can be taken care of. Now, there is a difference between music therapy and therapeutic music.
Yes.
Okay. Music therapy is a healthcare professional trained to design sessions with specific individualized goals in mind. Therapeutic music is to just help you relax or to hype you up. It's that kind of thing. And I didn't know this until I was reading for this episode, but to be a music therapist, you need a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, I found this out.
The American Music Therapy Association has a list of colleges and universities with approved programs. The degree requires an internship at a healthcare setting, 1,200 hours, or 30 weeks, or 7.5 months if you do that. You also have to pass a certification in order to practice, and the national exam is administered by the Certification Board of Music Therapists. It is not required in all states, but it is required in most states.
Yeah, not all states are recognizing it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I didn't think I was going to be able to find a whole lot of stuff after all of the research I'd already done for the previous 2 episodes, but that was a lot.
Yeah. I also included applications, like when what happens when you go to a music therapist.
Okay.
And what I found was, and I found this from Cleveland Clinic, says a healthcare provider called a music therapist talk to you to learn more about your needs, music preferences, and experiences, and designs each session specifically for you. They also evaluate your progress each step of the way and may work with your other healthcare providers to coordinate your care. The number of sessions you have, the length of each session, and what you do depends on your individual needs and goals. Music therapy experiences may include singing, playing instruments, or writing music. Some sessions may involve listening to music and talking about its meaning. Healthcare providers use music and therapy in many contexts, including at the bedside for people in hospitals. However, music therapy isn't the same as listening to music, which we just currently discussed that. Music therapy helps all ages, kids, everybody. Now, what exactly happens is when you go, your music therapist will guide you in making and or listening to music during your session. You may do one or more of the following: create music, sing music, play an instrument. You may improvise and do different things. You may move to music, is in, movement, your body. You may listen to music You may discuss lyrics. It could be any number of different things depending on what you need. Okay, and then I went on and I looked up, and these are questions I asked myself: does it work? Where's your proof?
Right.
HopkinsMedicine.org said that a recent study conducted at Johns Hopkins found that group singing improved quality of life and voice strength and clarity in patients with Parkinson's disease. Patients have continued singing weekly in the community, an endeavor also supported by the Johns Hopkins Parkinson's Disease and Movement Disorder Center. PubMed says that the systemic review and meta-analysis suggests that music therapy has an effect on reducing depressive symptoms to some extent. However, high-quality trials evaluating the effects of music therapy on depression are required. So they did, I guess, a little minor study, and they said we need to study more. And that's a good thing, because if they found some improvements, they've realized there's something here and they need to look into it.
Yeah.
This other website I found called frontiersn.org. There was a study where their conclusion was that the overall trend in music therapy is positive. The findings provide useful information for music therapy research to identify new directions related to collaborators, popular issues, and research frontiers. The development prospects of music therapy could be expected, and future scholars could pay attention to the clinical significance of music therapy to improve the quality of life of people. Oxford University, according to LinkedIn, holds that classical music can help improve heart conditions and maintain blood pressure. Studies have revealed that neurologic music therapy, along with traditional post-surgery care, can help a person recover from painful spinal surgeries faster. Some other medical experiments conducted in partnership with the Alzheimer's Foundation in America have concluded that the therapy can help stimulate positive responses, enhance cognitive functions of the brain, and even coordinate motor movements in the patients.
So when I read articles like this, I really want them to say the type of music or even list the songs that they used.
Well, if you go in and actually read the actual study, it probably has everything in it that it is. That's there. And this last part here about the Alzheimer's Foundation reminds me of a reel I saw once where an older woman who was a dancer, a ballerina, and she was suffering dementia and was basically in a chair. And what they did was that they played music from a ballet that she had danced apparently for years. And while they did that, she started doing the movements of the ballet.
Wow.
I divided into and did sound therapy because it's not exactly the same. To be a sound healer is not the same thing as being a music therapist.
Right. So
although
let's wrap up with music. So what do you think? What's your impressions?
Well, you know what? I found a little bit more because I was like, how much do they get paid?
Ooh, that's a good question for anybody. Right. What about you, Shalon? Do you have any experiences like with your surgery or like with your cancer that you had? Did music help you with any of that? Did you use music?
I have always listened to music as an escape.
Yes, same.
I mean, I remember being, 12 years old, riding my rollerblades up and down the street, listening to my Walkman and my cassette tape.
You're telling your age.
I am. And just relaxing and playing with the music, just, going up and down the street, up and down the street, up and down the street. And I unintentionally lost a bunch of weight doing that. But yeah, like I will, even today, if I've had a day where my brain just doesn't want to shut down, I will grab my earbuds and I will grab my phone and I will lay down right before bed and I will listen to music.
Yeah.
You can go to ZipRecruiter and they will tell you state by state what a music therapist will make. Okay. I didn't pull out every state, but I have the link and I'll send you the link.
Sure.
I pulled out Tennessee, West Virginia, and Florida.
I was going to say, did you pull out our states?
I did. ZipRecruiter had them listed at the very top, was the one that made the most. I didn't pay attention to that because it wasn't one of our states. But I will tell you that West Virginia and Florida are at the very, very bottom.
Of course they are.
So in Florida, a music, and this is like an average. It's not, you may go to one place and make significantly more, another place makes significantly less. So the average in Florida is $38,664
Okay.
a year annually. In West Virginia, it's $40,193.
Now I'm surprised that it's actually more than Florida.
I am too. Now, Tennessee, the average is 56,470.
Nice.
Yeah.
Might just be that there's a lot more people.
Well, there's a lot more people in
Urban
Florida than there
rural.
is West Virginia. So, and I'm pretty sure there's more people in Florida than there is Tennessee. But I can't help but think that Tennessee is more because we have
Nashville.
that founding of Nashville, founding of country music, founding of rock and roll in Memphis.
There we go. For anybody that doesn't know, we are poor and we do not pay for premium Zoom. So we got gated with a 9-minute wait before we could come back in. Anyway, Dee Dee, you were saying.
Well, I was saying that I was surprised in such a difference in like Florida, West Virginia, and Tennessee for the average per state annual salary for a music healer. And Tennessee being 56,000 average about, and West Virginia being, I think it was 40,000, and Florida only being 38,000. I'm like, whoa, that's a bit of a huge difference there. But I couldn't help but think that for Tennessee being what it is that Tennessee is perhaps more receptive to music being used as therapy because of the history Tennessee has
with music in
the world. Yeah, I was going to say in the U.S., but it's in the world for being where country music started, where rock and roll started, where blues started. They even make a claim on jazz, but so does Chicago. So I'm not going to say jazz.
Yeah, so does Mormons.
Yes, they do. So I don't know if they can make a claim on all of them, but I know for sure they can country music and rock and roll.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't help but think that that's why. But I will say that Tennessee was not the highest on the list. It was pretty far down still.
I wonder who was highest. Was it California?
I don't know. I want to say Alaska, but I may be wrong on that because I looked at several things. So let me see if I can find.
Alaska.
Oh gosh, where did I do? Here it is. Hold on. Alaska. 61,353. Now,
pretty wild.
Yeah, it is. And because of that, I was like, why? What's going on? And in that research, I found, and when I do Google searches on states, I'm typically searching either Tennessee, West Virginia, or Florida. So when I go in to search for something, it typically first of all goes to one of those 3 states because of what Google does, right?
Right.
Your algorithm. So what's that?
Your algorithm says you're only interested in those states.
Right, but sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I want all of them, and so I have to go through a lot of trouble just to get it to give me all of them.
Yeah.
But I did find that in 2017, Florida had a bill for music therapy.
Oh, really?
Yes. It was, hold on, bill number CS/HB 729 music therapist. Health Quality Subcommittee, and I've actually got a summary analysis. The bill, I've got a copy of it here. You can get copies of all this stuff online. And I was like, did it pass? So I went and I found, because I used to work for attorneys in Florida, so I kind of know some websites. So I went to the website for the Florida Senate, and that particular bill on 5/5/2017 is indefinitely postponed and withdrawn from consideration. Died in Healthcare Appropriations Subcommittee. So I didn't research any further than that because I was running out of time, because we had ever a meeting when we started at a certain time and all. So I stopped looking.
I don't know. I think what I immediately think of are all the long-term care facilities down here.
That was the first thing I thought of. And activity directors and social workers that work in those facilities.
Exactly. So in order for them to even bring out instruments for their residents to play around with, would they have to be certified?
Right. Yeah. I can see
No,
why it
no,
was
no, because it
tabled.
said in there that there would be specific exemptions for people that do not advertise themselves as being quote unquote music therapists. They would exempt people like that. The bill would exempt them. It
Oh,
said
okay.
that in the
Well, why even pass it to begin with, which is probably why it died. There's no reason to do it.
I personally, if I'm going to have somebody giving me what is a scientific studied medical practice, I want them to be licensed or certified.
Well, then you just ask for that information.
There's an
Same.
interesting thing though that I did find is that in order to become a music therapist, you have to attend a college or university that is certified.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I read that there are 3 universities in Florida that are certified to do it. I'm
Wow.
pretty sure FSU and University of Miami were 2 of them, and I forget what the third one was.
Shalom, what do you have as far as music before we get into actual sound that Delena's got for us?
Well, since I know y'all, like I've said before, are very research oriented, I tend to go off different directions because I know how y'all are. And I know that I will just look up things exactly what y'all have already said.
You know, that right there, I was doing a little bit of extra research yesterday, and I came across the same thing Didi found at Cleveland Clinic, and the
Yeah.
and I saw a posting on Very Well Mind, and I told Arnie, I said, I'm just gonna skip that one. Didi likes Very Well Mind, so I'm just not even gonna look at it.
Yeah, no. So I went down the road of success stories.
Yay! Okay. I love
Okay.
success stories.
Yeah.
All right. So this is from childrenscancer.org. The Healing Power of Music Therapy, Gracie's Story. Gracie was a 17-year-old athlete, and she was a very hard worker. Her coaches and her teammates always saw it. She always would finish in the lead. She was a basketball player, but she started to slip, like something was going on. And one day she had developed a golf ball sized lump on the side of her neck.
Oh,
The doctor told her initially it was likely a virus. But when a few days later, another golf ball sized bump appeared on the other side of her neck, it was not too long after that that she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
oh,
Now I'm just going to read from the article. It says, what came next was a roller coaster of different treatments, procedures, good news, bad news. Gracie started treatment right away, undergoing multiple rounds of chemotherapy and radiation and taking oral chemo pills regularly. It appeared the treatment was working and she was declared in remission until a devastating relapse set her back to the starting line. It became clear that Gracie's best option to beat her cancer was stem cell transplant, which is often a very risky procedure. And this meant months away from her family and her usual activities, feeling sick and knowing the long road. Let me try that sentence again. This meant months away from her family and her usual activities, feeling sick and knowing a long road to recovery was ahead. Just before the daunting procedure, Gracie met with Greta, a music therapist at the University of Minnesota. Greta told Gracie that she could try music therapy session just to see if she was interested. Children's Cancer Research Fund helps provide funding for music therapy program, which is laying the groundwork for future expansion.
mm-hmm.
I figured I'd give it a shot, Gracie said. I have a music background. I play a few instruments, but I typically don't like to play in front of other people because it makes me nervous. But I tried it out anyways. The first time Greta visited Gracie, she brought a ukulele, an instrument that Gracie had been hoping to learn for a long time. Greta taught Gracie a few beginner chords, and in almost no time, she was hooked. Despite the exhaustion and nausea Gracie battled after her transplant, she practiced her 3 chords until blisters formed on her fingers.
Aw.
When you're recovering from a transplant, they are very careful about any ways you can get an infection because you have no immune system at all, Gracie said. With just those 3 chords, I played so much over the weekend that my ukulele had to be taken away because they wanted my fingers to heal. It's hard for Gracie to explain exactly how music therapy helped her through her long hospital stay, but she knows for sure that it did. Some days she was so sick that she couldn't even get out of bed or walk to the couch without vomiting. So she stayed in bed unless Greta was there. For some reason, I would completely forget that I was sick for an hour that she was there, Gracie said. She would make little deals with me, like if I got out of bed and walked to the couch, she would teach me a new chord. Even just getting out of bed was a huge deal for me. I don't think I ever got sick while Greta was there, and I felt sick every day for months.
Wow.
Yeah. It goes on for a little while. But Gracie's success story is that she is now in remission and she is considering becoming a music therapist herself.
Wow.
Good for
Oh my
her.
gosh.
And then I also read another, and I can't find it. I read another article of a woman who was trapped during 9/11.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
She was
Okay.
trapped under something, a concrete pillar, I believe it said.
Mhm.
And years later, she's having to go through chemo for breast cancer. And I guess they had to strap her down.
Maybe for radiation treatment. I don't know why they
Yeah.
do that for chemo, but for radiation they
Well,
do. Because
yeah, they had,
one of my friends had throat cancer, and her treatment, she's very claustrophobic. So her radiation therapy was that she had to be fitted with this collar that kind of like held her chin up like this and
yeah,
elongated her neck so that they could target the cancer specifically with the radiation. And
yeah.
she would use music
Mm-hmm.
to get through that.
Yeah. And that's exactly what this woman's story was. She didn't realize that having that strap across her would make her claustrophobic. And she had to use, like Karen said, they used music therapy to help her get through the anxiety and the claustrophobia of being strapped down during those treatments.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Mm.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
It's amazing though. And
It is. Yeah.
I find music to be compelling.
Mhm.
Yes.
Like it, I don't care who you are. If there's a beat, your body starts moving.
Yeah, you
Something.
feel it. You
Yes,
feel it. You feel it.
yes.
Mhm.
So it's very compelling. Like it forces you to move. It forces you to bring things out that you might not normally experience, which, talking about visiting emotions,
Mhm.
that's one way to get emotions out of you and be able to identify what they are. Like, all right,
Mhm.
this is what I'm feeling right now. Okay, I must be angry. And then you learn to identify, all right, I'm angry now. And you wouldn't have been able to do that unless you had some type of compelling music therapy to get you to that point.
Right. Yeah.
There is something called involuntary musical imagery, or it's coined as an earworm, where you hear music in your head. I know
Mm.
earworm is like kind of this gross thing. It makes me think of the very
Yeah.
first Star Trek movie when they put that thing in Chekhov's ear.
Oh. Oh yeah.
But people have experienced this, like this one instance in particular that I'm thinking of. This guy was on a sailboat with one of his friends. They were out in the middle of nowhere, just the two of them. And his friend was asleep, and the only thing he could hear was the wind and the ocean. And then all of a sudden, a Van Halen album starts playing in his head from beginning to end on repeat. Every word, every note, exactly as it was on the album.
So this is not like just having a song in your head.
No,
Okay.
it's a little more severe than that. But it's normal to occasionally hear a song in your head, but it usually goes away because your brain can focus on something else. But musical hallucinations is when a set of neurons in the brain misfire and causes someone to feel like they're always hearing music.
Huh.
All right, sound.
Okay. Is it okay if I go?
Yeah, go. I don't have anything. I'm done. I'm just interjecting.
Okay.
My notes are sitting over here.
I just had that one big success story that I wanted to share about Grace.
It was a good story. Very sad, but very, very heartwarming at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Well, when I approached music therapy and sound therapy or sound healing, they're not necessarily the same thing, but I looked at it through basically the same lens is, what is sound healing? What's it used for? Because we looked at, what medical conditions can it help with? Because we looked at that for music therapy. So I looked at it for sound therapy.
Right. Shalana had mentioned before using Tibetan bowls and them actually being placed different parts of your body.
Right. Yes. Yes. And I also have a few other things in here too, and nobody's mentioned them, so I'm gonna bring them up before we leave. Okay. Sound therapy, aka sound healing, can be used for relief from stress, reduce headaches, have fewer headaches, boosting confidence, gives you more focus, gives you more energy, improve relationships with others, think more clearly, improve organization skills, improve attention span, get relief from common ailments. So these are all pretty much the same things you get from music therapy.
I need the organizational skills one.
Right. Yeah, right. I need that frequency. Now, how is sound healing administered? Because it's not exactly the same as music. So a sound healing session involves lying down in a cozy and comfortable setting, closing our eyes and focusing on sounds made by music instruments like chimes, gongs, and singing bowls. So it's a different type of setup. Does it work?
Did you say gongs like on the Gong Show?
That's what it says. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it work? Okay, I went to, this came from LinkedIn, which that's one of my new favorites, I guess. They said that, the science behind this is nature sounds. I went a little bit on nature sounds too, because some sound healers will use nature sounds, right?
Yeah.
So the science behind nature's sounds and well-being is the impact on health and mood. A 2021 study by Buxton, RT et al. Conducted a meta-analysis of 36 publications that explored the health benefits of natural sounds. The findings suggest that natural sounds can improve health, reduce stress, enhance mood, and even boost cognitive performance.
Yes, go outside, take a walk.
Nature sounds and attention span. A 2023 study by Song, I et al. Found that university students performed better on attention tasks when exposed to natural sounds like water and forest birds compared to urban noises like road traffic.
Oh man, that just made me remember something.
What's that?
You know, when we were growing up, we lived up the holler.
Yes.
We had a lot of nature sounds.
Yes.
Nature sounds including at times chickens and pigs.
Yes.
Okay. We would spend the night with Mama sometimes. And I would sleep in the bedroom that was towards the road, and I would crack the window at night so that I could hear the traffic going down the straight stretch
Okay.
at night. And to me, that was relaxing. And I wonder if
Okay.
it's because it was different than what I was used to listening to.
I don't know. It could be. You could be more of a city person. I mean, when it comes to music therapy or sound healing, you're going to talk to your therapist and they're going to figure out what's the best route for you
Mm.
and what's the best things to use. So for you, Karen, it may be traffic sounds.
I actually prefer waterfalls.
No, I like waterfalls too.
Yeah.
Um,
Of course, if you think about it, the waterfall sound could also be traffic sound.
well, it's a
Very
constant sound
similar.
too. It's
Yeah.
a constant sound because when you hear birds chirping, it's not a constant. It's a
Right.
little
Same
here.
thing with the wind through the trees. It's not constant either.
Yeah, made me think of when we lived in our other house. We lived right next to a very busy road,
Right.
Jacaranda Boulevard. And one morning I had totally missed my alarm, and what woke me up was the traffic sound
Really?
Mhm.
because I was hearing a lot more noise than I normally do, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm late."
Now, how do you become a sound healer as opposed to a
A music therapist.
music therapist? Yes.
I don't think sound healers require a degree.
They don't have an actual degree, but you can get a certification.
Okay.
But naturalhealers.com will tell you that you need at least 200 hours of course and training to complete the studies to be a sound healer. And that they can apparently provide you with a certification. And then now according to ZipRecruiter, and this is a national average for, at least I think it was a national average for a sound healer, because they have that separate from music therapists,
Right.
is $103,915 a year.
Wait a minute. Where was that?
It's national average.
I'm about to change my career.
So that's the average for the United States is $103,915 a year.
Okay,
Now,
well, I
so
just looked up on ZipRecruiter. The average for Florida is 71,911.
well, I found a different one on them, and it had it different. It had it listed state by state, but I mean, it's
For West Virginia, it's $97,921.
well, then I guess we can't trust ZipRecruiter, then can we?
Well, this is on ZipRecruiter that I'm looking at. Sound healing in Florida, April 2024.
Well, I looked it up too from Sound Healers, and it didn't come up as that. It gave me a state by state average annual.
Interesting.
So is that average annual, or is that for your location?
Let's see. For
Average annual pay for sound healing in Florida, 71,911.
Okay.
This one says average for Charleston, West Virginia, $97,921.
Okay. So you're talking about sound healing, right? Well, see, this is the
Sound healing salary. Yeah.
right. The sound healing I have is a national average, not a state by state average.
Okay.
So some states, I guess, are going to be less than what you all have, or maybe a little more. So now I also thought about how somebody has a kidney stone and how are they going to remove it? Sound
Yeah.
vibration. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Sound.
Because I said, what about sound wave therapy? So I found out a little bit about that, because that's where people have for years been going and getting treated for gallstones and kidney stones. And they use, I believe it's ultrasound that they use, and they bust up those stones that are in your body with sound. And
Yep.
the trumpets of Jericho made me think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So modern Western medicine uses sound therapy, because that is sound that they use to heal a medical issue.
Hmm.
So for them to not think that sound can't help other medical issues
Is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yes. Okay, I did find, where is it? There it is. Sound wave therapy, a comprehensive guide to sound wave therapy, types of sound wave therapy, elect extracorporeal shock wave therapy, low intensity pulsed ultrasound, focused ultrasound therapy, and the application of these is in orthopedics and sports medicine.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to
Neurology.
say focused ultrasound therapy is what they did for my frozen shoulder.
Right. Yes. Dermatology. This is sound that's currently being used that fixes things that are wrong with people. And these
Right.
are physical things that are wrong with them.
So I
Karen's
wonder
frozen
if these salary prices are including people like physical therapists and radiologists.
I didn't look into it in that great of a detail.
I didn't
know.
either. I didn't either. So what are your final thoughts on music and sound therapy, everything that we've discussed?
I think they work. I think you need to probably find a therapist that's going to work with you to do what you need. I think that if you want to if you want to consider it alternative medicine of a sound healer, that very well might work for you as well. I don't think you should just throw it out simply because it's not, I don't know, a Florida
Not
State
AMA
University
certified?
degree.
Conventional.
Yeah.
Conventional, yeah.
Yeah, just because it's not conventional or normal or anything like that, I don't think you should throw it out.
What about you, Shalon? Where do you stand?
Sign me up.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I am as well.
You know
Yeah.
what? We have an aunt with Parkinson's.
No, I keep wondering.
And
And
epilepsy.
I've talked to our mother and I've told her she needs to look into music therapy or sound healing. I told her, talk to her and tell her to look into that.
Okay.
So,
I'll make sure she
Shalon
does.
can reiterate that, and I will do the same when I get down there.
mhm.
So yeah. And we'll do some, I'm going to go do some music therapy right now because I'm going to turn on my playlist and get to dusting and sweeping.
You'd have to send it to my email.
Okay, what email do you want to use?
That'd be
Send me,
fun.
We have less than a minute.
send me the email you want me to use for it.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Next week is Mother's Day, so we'll be having a dark week. But the week after that, come back for a fun episode of Would You Rather questions. See you then. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Sister Sharpens Sister. If you enjoyed this episode, invite your family and friends to listen and leave us a review.
And join the conversation by sending us an email to sharpsistertrio@gmail.com. Talk to you later. Bye.
That's all, folks.